Hello, my name is Ryan Bush-Jost. I'm the Supply Chain Planning and Logistics Manager for Brewer Science.
Hi, my name is Ray Vanoy, and I work in the Analytical Testing Unit.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Rasmussen, and I'm a lab analyst here in the QC department.
And today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of our Vichy facility. This is where we make our leading edge lithography materials.
I test many of the samples that come from the R&D group, and what we're focusing on is trying to characterize the products that the R&D associates are synthesizing so that they are meeting the needs of their customers. The first part in our process involves the submission of samples by research associates. So they will bring a sample to us and submit it, and we are able to find it in our system and determine whether or not we need to test it on a GC or an HPLC or whatever instrument is necessary for the test. So for the sample that I processed, I was able to collect the sample and then further dilute it with a solvent where I'm actually trying to precipitate out the polymer that is in the product in order to protect the instrument. We are trying to analyze a residual analyte or a residual chemical in the product, and the technique that we use requires us to remove the polymer in order to not damage the instrument. So I, in essence, precipitated the polymer and then put the remaining solution on the instrument so that we could analyze it for the residual analyte. So once we report data to the submitters or our internal customers, they then will decide whether or not the material is passing their specifications or the customer specifications. We do not determine in the lab ourselves if the material is good or bad, but the person who is responsible for making the material is going to determine if it's passing or failing.
As raw materials come in, we go through a sampling process. Those materials are then submitted into our quality control laboratory, which we'll look at shortly. They go through a series of testing then before being released for production. After production is done with it, again, samples are submitted into our quality control lab. Those materials are held here in the warehouse area until they are released and ready for shipment.
So here in QC, we receive a variety of samples from multiple departments in the company. Our main customer is manufacturing, so the majority of our samples are coming from that department, but we also receive samples from engineering and R&D. So once we receive the sample, we'll look up in our sample log what types of tests need to be performed on that sample. Depending on what those tests are, it will go either into the clean room or into the lab, or possibly a combination of the two. The main tests we perform are ICP-MS, which analyzes the ions in the sample, so such as how much tin or titanium or silver or any of those metal ions, copper, nickel. We'll look for what the concentration of those are in the sample. Some of the other common tests we do are thickness testing, because the thickness of the material that coats on the wafer is very critical for our customers. One of the other main tests we do is GC or gas chromatography analysis, and that allows us to look at what the actual individual solvents or chemicals are within the sample that we're testing, because it's usually a mix of chemicals, and that lets us know that we actually synthesize the correct material or that we actually put the correct material in the bottle. So once we're done testing the sample, we'll take the data from whichever instrument we ran the testing on, and we'll input it into our QC database. That database basically keeps track of all the data we generate for a given sample. We'll evaluate it to make sure that is within our passing limits, ensure that nothing looks off or suspicious that may cause a problem with our customer. And then if all the data is passing, that final product will be shipped off to our customer and hopefully to be used in your future computers and cell phones.
All right, so this is our quality control laboratory. As I mentioned before, when materials come in or when they're finished with production, we submit samples into the lab here for testing. They test a variety of physical properties about the material, viscosity, molecular weights, trace contaminants, and that. They also check the physical performance of the materials as well to make sure they conform with our customer specifications. So to give you an idea, some of the detection limits and the quality levels we're looking for here, we're testing trace contaminants and metals down into the parts per billion and pushing into even the parts per trillion range. So to put that in perspective for you, 1 part per trillion would be the equivalent of trying to find 1/4 within the city limits of the city of Chicago. All right, so here we are in front of our production area. This is a clean environment. The cleanliness is a class 100, as we refer to it. So that rating is determined by the amount of particles in the air in 1 cubic meter worth of air. So class 100, pretty self-explanatory, 100 particles of a certain size or larger within that 1 cubic foot of air. To put that in perspective for you a little bit, your general home or that is probably in the neighborhood of 500,000 or greater. So pretty clean environment that we're working in here. Another kind of point of reference for you is a clean room environment where they do open heart surgery is also a class 100. So we're working in that equivalent of an environment. In our production process here, generally we're doing blending processes, purification and filtration on our materials. All of that is done through an automated production process. So we take a lot of the human factor out of there for that and to improve the consistency of our products. All right, so here we are in front of our packaging area. This is where we take the bulk material and we actually put it into the containers that we'll ship to our customers. This again is a clean room area. Where we actually do the bottling is even cleaner than where we manufacture. So it is a class 10 area. Just for reference to what we were talking about in terms of the cleanliness of manufacturing. In this area, along with our manufacturing area, we utilize automation. That automation adds to the consistency. It also helps with the quality of the materials. By being a fully automated process, we take away the human interaction with the product while it is being packaged. That aids in really that quality aspect, because as humans interact with the product, we expel particles from our body, from our clothes, which could be a potential contaminant into the product itself. So the people working in this area, they will wear special clothing, and we have special operating procedures to ensure that we do not have any negative impact on the product as it's being packaged. Here we are in our warehouse area. This is where we store all of our incoming raw materials, all of our consumables, and all of our finished goods once they're through with production. On the other end of the warehouse here, we have our logistics area where we pack materials and prepare them for shipment to our customers.